Wrestling with the Past, hosted by Jason Nupp. Join Jason as he reviews classic wrestling footage from the golden era of the WWF, when our biggest childhood fear was anyone from the dreaded Heenan family capturing the precious World Wrestling Federation gold from our red and yellow savior, Hulk Hogan. There were Rowdy Pipers, Snookas who superflied, animals with green tongues, Russian Volkovs, Sheiks of Iron, a demolition that could axe and smash things to bits. It was a glorious time to be alive. It was a time to rock and wrestle, when a video coliseum fulfilled our childhood world with excitement and wonder. And now, the host of Wrestling with the Past, give it up, give it up, give it up for Mr. Jason Nupp.
Hello everybody, Jason Nupp, New Age Revolution down here in the cave with another Wrestling with the Past. That's right, we dive back into the glory days of professional wrestling, the only way YouTube will allow us, and that's by talking about it and showing some pictures. And if you've been watching, we are making our way through the summer of 1984. We are now up to the second week in July 1984, and tonight we're going to talk about a house show, a TNT, and a very strange championship wrestling show. First up, we've got a July 15th, 1984 house show from the Meadowlands in New Jersey. This aired on the MSG network, which I thought was pretty cool. But I think back then, did the MSG network show, like New Jersey Devils games or New Jersey Nets games? I'm not sure. I don't remember. But the MSG network is carrying this Meadowlands Arena house show, and I think it's like one of two Meadowlands shows that are out there in the tape trading world. It's been forever since I've been in the tape trading world. Maybe there's more. I love the Meadowlands house show. Dare I say I love it more than MSG. I definitely love it more than Philly. I definitely love it more than Boston. I definitely love it more than the Cap Center. Those are the main ones that had televised house shows. Not for like the quality of stuff that happens. I mean, biggest stuff happens at MSG. I'm talking about the look. I love the look of the Meadowlands house show. It's bright. The ring is very, very lit up. The camera angle's a little bit different than I'm used to. I like it. The Cap Center, their house shows, their televised house shows, almost have the camera at an angle. So you're kind of looking at the ring at an angle. And that's a pretty cool visual too. MSG and Philly pretty much do it the same way. Boston pretty much does it the same way. But Meadowlands looks good. Gorilla Monsoon and Red Bastien are commentators. I guess Red Bastien or Bastion or whatever is I think he's an old Canadian wrestler who pretty much worked for the WWF his whole career after, but he was a behind the scenes guy. I think he was an agent. I think he, represented a lot of WWF Canada stuff. And he is he's the commentator on this New Jersey house show. We finally see the Moondogs as a tag team. I told you last week we saw the re-debut of Moondog Rex. Well, now we have Moondog Spot and Moondog Rex teaming up for the first time so far for me in 84. And they're taking on SD Jones and Jose Luis Rivera. It's what you'd expect, but it's nice to see the Moondogs are now on the scene as a tag team. They are one of my favorite television tag teams. We've got yet another Paul Orndorff and B. Brian Blair match. This one goes 17 minutes and 2 seconds. Whew. So yeah, it's long wrestling. I mean, a 17-minute wrestling match we're not used to when we're watching, all these quick 3 to 5 minute matches. So a 17-minute match, these guys are exhausted by the end, and there's a lot of good wrestling. It's a great match. I mean, it's a great wrestling match. And like I've said before, these two must have been very close. They have great chemistry together. The matches are fantastic. They know each other. It's great. Paul Orndorff, of course, gets the Duke in this one. We have another Samoans versus Mr. Fuji and Tiger Chung Lee match. Well, why? Well, because they haven't broken up. Fuji and Lee haven't broken up in front of everyone yet. So they've got to go around the circuit. And you would see this often back then, is that they would run angles at house shows and then run them again at another house show. Because the Meadowlands, well, in this case, well, let's see, where did they do it? Did they break up in Philly? I think they broke up in Philly. Yeah, they broke up at the Philly July 7th house show, right? Nobody saw that in New Jersey. Nobody saw that unless they saw Spectrum Wrestling from New Jersey, which they wouldn't because they didn't have the Spectrum channel in 1984 cable. So nobody knew. Nobody knew that Fuji and Lee broke up in Philly. So they got to do it again in the Meadowlands. They got to do it again in New York. Then it'll start making its way to TV and all that. Awesome. I just love it. Same deal. The Samoans are cheered. Commentators make note of it. That puts it over. And then this time, it wasn't Fuji didn't turn on Lee at the end of the match after a botched pinfall or something. This is so strange. Right in the middle of the match, Mr. Fuji just gets in the ring and punches Tiger Chung Lee. That's it. And then gets back out and carries on with the match. And then after the Samoans win, Fuji gets in and beats him with a kendo stick. But in this one, so in Philly, Tiger Chung Lee is just getting beat up. In the Meadowlands, Tiger Chung Lee is really begging off. He's really begging Mr. Fuji. He's kind of on his hands and knees doing the bow down thing to Mr. Fuji. So I don't know why Lee was playing the cowardly face, I guess, because you don't really see the cowardly face. I don't know what the deal was with that. But I assume that's it for Tiger Chung Lee and Mr. Fuji. They do have one match against each other, at least that I know of at MSG. There might have been other house show matches. We'll see. But this is almost it for Mr. Fuji as a wrestler. Piper versus Snuka. We finally are starting to see Piper versus Snuka matches. The one at... Let's see. They didn't go at it in Philly. Where did they go at it? They went at it... Where did they go at it? I don't know. They have had one house show match that wasn't that great, but the Meadowlands July 15th, 1984 match between Piper and Snuka is awesome. Jimmy Snuka gets cut, right? He gets himself pretty deep, and Jimmy Snuka is bleeding all over the place. Again, which makes for a fantastic visual. His hair, which is usually bushy and out there, is slicked back with blood. Blood all over the torso of Jimmy Snuka, and blood all over Roddy Piper. Snuka's blood. So that, again, really great. Really great. And this is the first match where you can really tell that there's some bad blood. Because after Snuka's cut most of the match. And then somehow he recognizes the blood. So he does the Jimmy Snuka freak out that we first see when he's smashed with a coconut on Piper's Pit, where he kind of just gets up and goes, "Ah!" And he kind of freaks out. Well, he does that. And so we get a disqualification because they both beat up referee Dick Worley, which is great. And then we get what my favorite stuff is the jobber pull apart, where Belomo and Tony Colon and Sam Smith come running down to separate Piper and Snuka. And they never send down Hogan, or Andre, or any of the top tier guys. Why? Well, because Piper and Snuka are going to beat the tar out of the jobbers as they try to separate them. It's great. So we finally get that separated. I think I remember this match from a Coliseum video. I remember this Snuka Piper match from a Coliseum video way in my youth, because there was no way I saw this house show live. Mil Mascaras takes on Pete Doherty, and Doherty is only famous in Boston. Pete Doherty is everybody's favorite job guy in Boston, but anywhere else he's just Pete Doherty the jobber, and his shtick is only over in Boston and not so much in the Meadowlands. But Pete Doherty is a grizzled looking man. He is just if anybody if there was if wrestling was legit and there was like people that were made to be wrestlers, Pete Doherty's one of them. Like Dick the Bruiser is one of them. Pete Doherty just is a mess. He's missing teeth. He's scraggly. He's got like the long scraggly hair. He's got the tattoo, the really bad tattoos on the forearm of the eagle or something that everybody's grandpa had. Pete Doherty's got that. Mascaras beats him. And then we have a very strange thing. So this was a WWE 24/7 back in the day. Remember WWE 24/7, their streaming service, I guess? This must have been a copy from that, because it's crystal clear, but it's only like 7 or 8 matches. And usually 24/7 would cut a match. And so now, instead of the main event at the Meadowlands, the Meadowlands card switches to a different arena, and it's Hogan and Andre taking on Stud, Adonis, and Murdoch in a handicap match. But the ring is like a Georgia Championship Wrestling ring. It's the black ropes. You know that it's a different ring. And when I looked it up, it said that they switched the Meadowlands pay-per-view, the Meadowlands House Show, included this in the actual live Meadowlands television broadcast. I don't know why, but they inserted Hogan and Andre versus Adrian Adonis, Dick Murdoch, and Big John Studd, and they said that it was from Georgia Championship Wrestling. Now we know that's not true, but I don't know. It's not a television match, so it wasn't like, remember when WWF took over TBS and they did the studio for like 2 weeks, Black Friday it was called, or Black Saturday. This wasn't the match because that's in a small studio. This was in an arena. It's weird. I don't know. But that's how the Meadowlands card ends, with that 5-man tag team match. Weird. And then I thought it was just my copy of the disc, but I looked it up on the history of the WWE, or history of the WWF, and that's indeed what happened on that live television broadcast of the Meadowlands show. Okay. So now we jump to July 17th, and we've got another TNT episode. This one is interesting. I remember this one from childhood because of one incident that happens that actually scared me as a kid. But now the show starts off with some more recap, more training of Wendy Richter by Cyndi Lauper, and Vince lets us know that this Monday night, MSG, Wendy Richter, and Fabulous Moolah. And then they also mention that MTV is involved. This is the first time I hear them mention MTV's involvement. But then they also said that CBS, NBC, and ABC would also be there. No, I don't recall that. I'm wondering if this was not the simulcast on MTV. One of those, the brawl to end it all, the war to settle the score, something like that. That was simulcast on MTV. This upcoming MSG show is not, but they are mentioning MTV's involvement. Then we have a Wendy Richter interview, and she's fine. you can really tell that they like transplanted this Texas girl into this Cyndi Lauper rock and roll girl, because she is all Texas. She's got the extreme Southern accent. And she even mentions, yeah, I still like to wear my cowboy boots and my cowboy hat, but I also like these earrings. She's got these big old hoop earrings. And Vince is just fawning over her as usual, just drooling at the desk. Then we get a Tony Gurria interview, and that is as like watching paint dry. That's horribly boring. Horribly boring. Of course, they start talking about how much Tony Gurria is looking for a partner. And there's some innuendos. It's kind of funny because, Vince is asking him what kind of a man he's looking for. And Tony Gurria says he just wants a man with stamina. And I'm giggling like a 12-year-old. It's beautiful. But yeah, that's like the running joke, I think, in WWF, is that Tony Gurria is still looking for a tag team partner. They show a Gurria match, him against somebody. He's a job guy and he beats him. And then, for some reason, they show Jimmy Snuka versus Samu. I don't know why they did that, but they went to a Jimmy Snuka versus Samu match, and this is from like January '84. So they're just showing it's weird. They're going back and showing a match from January '84. During the Richter match, they showed a Moolah match from like '83 or '82. Moolah, it was a television match. Moolah had black hair. The crowd was smoking and they looked old, and it just looked like maybe '81, '82. It was weird, how they would just insert these old matches and treat them like they were just off TV. Coincidentally, from the Meadowlands pay-per-view, Red Bastien is now a guest on TNT. He's interviewed, and again, it's boring. It's an old-timey wrestler guy, and they show a match, him and Dory Funk Jr. from like the 60s or 70s, probably the 60s, and you know what to expect from those matches. It's like weird, like archival footage, like I don't know, like 8mm footage. Then we have Greg Valentine as a guest, and this is where things get odd. Greg Valentine, so a lot of guests on TNT pretty much break character. They come out, they have good conversations, the bad guys are nice, it's fine. Greg Valentine refuses. He stays in character. He refuses to shake McMahon's hand or Lord Alfred's hand. And he sits down and he talks and, about Tito Santana. And, it's funny because he's mentioning how much he wants the world's title, the world heavyweight title. And that's the only thing he wants. But he's right in the middle of a program with Tito Santana for the Intercontinental title. So he kind of wakes up and goes, yeah, and that Intercontinental title is just as important, maybe more important than the world. Oh, I forgot. I'm selling out house shows against Tito Santana for the Intercontinental title, and I'm about to win it. Then it gets strange. He talks about how tired he is on the road and how beat up he is, and how his wife gives him massages. So then we go to a commercial and we come back and Greg Valentine is shirtless on a massage table, and his real life wife, Julie, is in a leopard bikini, and she's massaging him while Vince McMahon and Lord Alfred Hayes watch. Yeah. So Julie, and she's out there, she's squirting baby lotion all over Valentine, and she's rubbing him, and it's so sexual. It's so gross because Vince McMahon is interviewing Julie Valentine while she's rubbing down Greg Valentine, who is groaning and moaning on the table, and Julie is just like, he's like, so Julie, I don't know, and Lord Alfred is just, oh, look at that. Oh, look at those, biceps. It's terrible. It's just so great. I don't know why. They did that. And why interview her while she's massaging him? I don't know. Then we've got Roddy Piper. who comes out accompanied by a couple of bagpipers. And the shtick is they're trying to get Roddy Piper to play the bagpipes. He says he can. They give him some bagpipes. They don't, they're too heavy or they're too light. He doesn't want them. They're not his. He doesn't want to play, whatever. But he starts to get really serious, and he starts to upset Vince McMahon because they're talking about Jimmy Snuka, and Vince McMahon is repulsed at what happened on Piper's Pit. And Piper is not taking kindly to McMahon being repulsed. So him and McMahon are going at it a little bit, and Lord Alfred's stepping out of line a little bit. He's adding some jabs, and Piper's getting mad at him, and Lord Alfred just keeps jabbing. And then Piper stands up, and he says something to McMahon, and then he turns and he wallops Lord Alfred Hayes. Oh, wallops him. Great. Lord Alfred crumbles. McMahon goes, "Hold yourself." Piper takes off. So they come back from break. Lord Alfred nowhere to be seen. McMahon gives a very serious statement that the producers of Tuesday Night Titans have banned Roddy Piper from TNT for life. You will never see Roddy Piper on this show again, which isn't true. Then they show Lord, and I don't know if he was off getting makeup done or if Piper really schnocked him, because he hit him. Like there was no pulling of the slap. I think guys really slap them. Like you just take it, right? You just take the slap to make it look good. Lord Alfred was bruised up a little bit, so I don't know if Piper really got him good. So that's it. That's TNT for July 17th. They end the show by doing something that they called the WWF Review. And really, it was just like 3 minutes of music playing with a bunch of WWF highlights. That's it. That's how the show ended. But I have a lot of fun memories about those highlights because all the organizations would do it. They would pick the catchiest song of the particular era, the particular month or whatever, the top 40, and they would put a bunch of clips to it. I remember like Warrior in NWA, I am the warrior. They would do that to clips. I loved it. I loved when they would because that's how I still associate those songs. So whenever that song comes on, the I Am the Warrior song, instantly I'm back, watching wrestling. All right, quickly, we've got, so the next and final show this week is a championship wrestling show, July 21st, 1984. Now, as soon as it came on, I thought, something's up with this. They are not at the Hamburg, whatever, Pennsylvania, the Ag Hall. They're not there. They are in a strange-looking arena that I didn't recognize. And then went on to realize that it was, for some reason, they are taping Championship Wrestling from Brantford, Ontario. They are in Canada. And I read that they would be in Canada for 3 weeks here. And so basically, Brantford, Ontario, that arena was the B show for the WWF. That is where All-Star Wrestling was taped at the Brantford, I don't know, Brantford Civic Center maybe, in Brantford, Ontario, Canada. Very strange that their B show that they aired weekly was in Canada. So they had to cross borders every week to film, well, probably every 3 weeks, to film an actual syndicated show, which was awesome. Much better look, honestly, as connected as I am to the Agricultural Hall appearance, Brantford's appearance is better. And it's still not a red, white, and blue ring. It's their NWA ring ropes, the black cables. It's very strange to see, and it makes sense, right? The red, white, and blue wouldn't go to Canada, right? So black ropes, very cool. But again, a strange show. There's only a couple of matches. There's we get who do we get? We get, on commentary is Vince McMahon and Tony Garea. All right, so very strange commentary pair. And like I said, only a couple of matches. We get Adonis and Murdoch against SD Jones and Nick DiCarlo. Now, Nick DiCarlo is going to be on every single Canada show. He's a Canada guy. He's for WWF, he was a Canada jobber. I'm sure he had success elsewhere in Canada. Obviously, you know, the tag team champions get the Duke. We also have Kamala's debut. So we are seeing the first of the Ugandan giant Kamala, and I don't think he's here long. I don't think Kamala is here long before he goes back to like Mid-South. But he's here with, Friday. Does he have another manager? I should have wrote this down. I want to say he's with Blassie and Friday. Yeah. Friday was before Kimchi. So we got Blassie and Friday bringing down Kamala. And there's a little girl in the audience who's terrified. And she's in the front row and she's holding onto her dad's arm the whole match. And it's so great. Kamala is all chops, all kicks, all splashes. That's Kamala. And then the rest is just interviews. We've got a complete recap of Cyndi Lauper and Captain Lou. Complete. Like right from the beginning. That was nice to get a recap. And then just all interviews. And the Brantford interview studio is just a black backdrop with a WWF logo right in the middle of it. And that's where they would conduct the interviews. Now, strangely enough, because this still aired, this particular episode of Championship Wrestling aired in the Boston market, that's where my tapes are from, they're still advertising Boston Garden house shows at these interviews. So even though we've got a Canada show, they're using the Canada interview backdrop, they're advertising the Boston Garden shows because that's the network that it's on. Great stuff. Yeah, just a ton of interviews, like 3 back-to-back interviews, then they go to a commercial and they come back for more interviews. And then to end the show, they do they take us back to MSG for the Samoans against Mr. Fuji and Tiger Chung Lee, the 2 out of 3 falls match. That ends the very strange show. So we'll see what the next week's episode is like. If it's the same or if they add more matches or what. But anyway, coming up, we've got the MSG match that starts it all. Wendy Richter versus Fabulous Moolah. That'll be in the next review. I have not even started it yet. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. So yeah, that's that. We'll see how it goes as we get out of the summer of 1984. Good night now.